They show up. They're intense. They're attentive. They text constantly. They make you feel like you're the most important person in their world. And then, suddenly, without explanation, they vanish. They withdraw completely. They become cold. They disappear. And you're left wondering, what did I do? Did I imagine the intensity? Were they ever real? Here's what psychology reveals. Love bombing followed by sudden withdrawal is a deliberate pattern, and the people who do it are often highly skilled at it. Here are 5 types of people who love bomb, then disappear. First, the narcissist. They love bomb because they need narcissistic supply. They need admiration, attention, and validation. Psychologist Dr. Reminder Vassula's research on narcissism shows that narcissists cycle through relationships rapidly. Intense idealization, then devaluation, then discard. The love bombing is real in one sense. It's intense and consuming. But it's not love. It's consumption. Here's the pattern. They see you as a source of supply. They study what you need and want. They become exactly that person. You feel seen in a way you've never felt before. Research by Dr. Craig Malkin shows that narcissists are often highly intuitive about people because they're constantly scanning for weaknesses and desires they can exploit. They mirror you perfectly until they don't. What happens? Once they have you hooked, once you're emotionally dependent on them, they begin the devaluation. The same intensity that made you feel special becomes used to make you feel inadequate. Second, the avoidant attached person. They love bomb as a way to move toward connection, but then anxiety kicks in and they withdraw to protect themselves. Psychologist Dr. Sue Johnson's attachment research shows that avoidantly attached people often swing between intense closeness and sudden distance, because closeness itself triggers their terror of being trapped or controlled. Here's what happens. They come toward you intensely, love bombing. The closeness feels good and safe in the moment, but then their nervous system sends a danger signal. Too close, too vulnerable, being controlled. So they withdraw suddenly. Research by Dr. Amir Levine shows that avoidant people often don't understand their own pattern. They just know that closeness triggers panic, so they flee. What this looks like, you're getting amazing texts and then no text for days. You're being called constantly and then being ignored for weeks. You're being included in plans and then suddenly you're unwelcome. The person isn't trying to hurt you. They're trying to regulate their own nervous system. Third, the thrill seeker. They love bomb because intensity is what they crave. Psychologist Dr. Jake Panksepp's research on the seeking system shows that some people are neurologically wired to seek novelty and intensity. The beginning of a relationship is high intensity, new, unknown, stimulating. Once they know you, the intensity decreases, and they get bored. Here's the pattern. The love bombing is genuine. They're genuinely excited about you because you're new, but they're not excited about you specifically. They're excited about the novelty. Research by Dr. Marvin Zuckerman shows that high sensation seekers often struggle with commitment because the familiar becomes boring, and boredom is unbearable to their nervous system. What happens? After the initial rush of excitement fades, they lose interest. They were never going to stay interested. They can't. Their nervous system requires novelty, so they disappear to find it elsewhere. And you're left wondering if you did something wrong, when really their issue isn't with you. It's with their need for constant stimulation. Fourth, the commitment phobic. They love bomb as a way to test whether you'll stay or push for commitment. Psychologist Dr. Harriet Lerner's research shows that people with commitment phobia often unconsciously sabotage relationships by alternating between extreme closeness and distance, a test to see if the other person will leave or stay. Here's what happens. They love bomb you intensely, but secretly, they're waiting for you to ask for something concrete, exclusivity, future plans, deeper commitment. When you do, or sometimes even before you ask, they withdraw. The withdrawal is often a relief to them because it gives them the distance they're unconsciously craving. They're fleeing their own anxiety. But the impact is the same. You're confused and hurt. What this looks like: they're all in until you suggest meeting their family. They're intense until you say, "I love you." They're attentive until you suggest an official relationship. The pattern is that the moment things get more real, more committed, more serious, they vanish. Fifth, the opportunist. They love bomb you for a specific purpose: money, favors, connections, status, or resources. Psychologist Dr. George Simon's research on manipulation shows that strategic love bombers are calculated and intentional. They know exactly what they're doing, and they do it well. Here's the pattern. They study you. They learn what you want to hear. They become that person. They get what they came for, whether it's money, a job connection, emotional support during a difficult time, or whatever they need, and then they disappear. The love bombing was never about you. It was about what you had or could provide. The disappearance serves a purpose. It reestablishes their freedom and independence. They get to be close without being trapped. But the person on the receiving end is left in constant confusion about whether they're in a relationship or not. What this looks like: they're intensely interested until they get the favor. They're deeply connected until they get the money. They're passionate until they've drained your emotional labor. Then they vanish, often without explanation. Here's what psychology is clear about: love bombing followed by sudden withdrawal is a pattern, not an anomaly. And understanding which pattern someone is operating from helps you understand what happened, and that it wasn't your fault. The hardest part is often that the love bombing felt real. It was real in its intensity, but it wasn't real in its foundation. It wasn't based on actually knowing or valuing you. It was based on their need, their fear, their boredom, or their agenda. When someone love bombs you then disappears as an opportunist, it was never real. It was a calculated strategy to get what they needed from you.